Rob, why the hell did they kill Mr. Six? They killed the old man. Like
They
what?
did. They did. This old man has been I would say, a pseudo grandfather to me for
Yeah.
many years.
I
I've
mean,
looked
an
at
actual
him.
grandfather.
You're now watching Haunt Talk with your host Scott from Exploring Attractions and Rob from the Howling Hour, home for all things scary and spooky related.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Haunt Talk podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Rob.
And today we bring you another exciting episode. This is our 10th episode, Rob. Can you believe it? We made it 10 episodes and we have not canceled yet.
Yeah, double digits, and we're safe so far.
Yeah. We started this back in March? February? I don't know.
I feel like it was March.
I don't know. All I know is I said in the first episode, I was like, okay, trust me, guys, episodes are going to start rolling. And here we are. I think we're on a 3-week in a row episode right now, episode schedule. So I think that's pretty cool. But
Nice.
I feel like they're just going to become weekly with all the information that's coming out because so much haunt information came out yesterday.
There's too much to almost handle. It was like my phone was just blowing up with this announcement. I was just like, whoa, did they plan this or what's going on?
All at the same time too, at the exact same time. I think there is some marketing strategy there or something like that. But
Yeah.
If you're new here, please subscribe with those bell notifications on. Subscribe to both myself and the Howling Hour, and then obviously follow our Haunt Talk Instagram page because we're posting lots of different haunt content on there as well.
Yes.
But I think that we should start off with Six Flags because Six Flags kind of teased something interesting earlier in last week. Nobody really knew what it was. Obviously, it seemed like it was going to be Fright Fest related, just from the kind of idea that they posed. But alas, Rob, why the hell did they kill Mr. Six? They killed the old man. What?
They did. They did. This old man has been I would say, a pseudo grandfather to me for many years.
I mean,
I've looked
an
at
actual
him.
grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. So why did they kill him? I don't know, but he unfortunately. I mean, I'll say this, and I like to make light of it.
Yeah.
I was hit by a truck, and I survived. So who knows? Maybe he could have survived the bus, but we don't know. What I'm thinking. And if I'm wrong, I'll take it. But
Okay.
I'm thinking, being is that it is Fright Fest related, I'm thinking maybe he got hit. He did pass on, but he's going to become a zombie of some sorts, and maybe almost be like the way I would say it is maybe like an MC of Fright Fest,
So
or
a narrator throughout the
face of Fright Fest kind of thing. Hey, this is what's going on, and kind of just. I don't want to say icon because other parks kind of have icons, but maybe
Right.
he is an icon for Six Flags, but maybe the zombie version of him is going to be an icon for Fright Fest.
He's just immortal and the ghost lives on, you know what I mean?
There you go.
Throughout the Six Flags event. But I think that was kind of interesting. Let's just talk about it because obviously there's a lot to unfold from Six Flags' announcement. But the announcement video is one of the best, if not the best, haunt announcements ever. It was iconic almost. I mean, hearing the Six Flags music and then hearing the kind of demented, creepy version of it when they were talking about all the mazes and stuff like that. Man, that sent chills down me, and that made me even more excited for what's to come this year. Props to Six Flags and that wasn't just Magic Mountain. That was Six Flags as a company. That was so impressive. And let's not forget that Six Flags and Cedar Fair are now merged together. So could this be a clear-cut sign of what's to come as far as their merger and their collaboration on things? Because if it is, then sign me up for more stuff like this, to be honest.
I do think that. I think you're right with that. I think this is them, as far as you had mentioned, the merger kind of thing. This is them maybe taking a step to say, okay, this is we're stepping into a new era, a new path. And I'm excited for it, man. They just all the announcements and just, like you mentioned, the I guess I say trailer for Fright Fest. Very, very high. It just felt very high production, very high quality.
Yeah.
And again with the music and how they just kind of made it demented. It was just I was like, this is, I see what you did with the dun, 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 and then you kind of slowing it down and making it creepy. awesome.
It was incredible, man. And it's now officially deemed, I think you saying a new era is a good way to kind of describe this, because they've given it a new name. And I don't know if this will be the name going forward, but it's the largest expansion they've ever made as far as the haunt world goes in Fright Fest. It's called Fright Fest Extreme. And with that, obviously, yes, we had the fun trailer and everything, but they announced some pretty game-changing stuff. They have some brand new mazes coming this year, and these in specific are coming to Magic Mountain. There's a couple different ones that are going over to, I think it's Great Adventure. I think Great Adventure is getting Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, they are.
Let me pull up my tweet because I kind of listed it on exactly what Magic Mountain's getting. Confirmed, by the way. So this year, Magic Mountain will be getting different IP-based haunted houses, including Stranger Things, Trick or Treat, the Saw universe, the Conjuring universe, which of course includes Annabelle and the Nun, and then Army of the Dead. And this will all kick off on September 7th at Six Flags Magic Mountain, as well as all the different Fright Fests around the country. I don't know exactly the lineups for each one, but I believe in the press release it was stated that Magic Mountain will be receiving those mazes. It's a little bit confusing. Regardless, we're going to be getting these whole new different IPs and everything. But I mean, I heard about this a couple days earlier, and then I told you about it, and I only knew about one. I think I knew about Stranger Things, and I kind of hinted that.
You had mentioned Stranger Things.
And I was like, that's just a bogus rumor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it just didn't sound real.
Yeah, I mean, but here we are. So, Rob, what's your reaction to it?
You know what? I'm obviously, excited is not the level of how just the excitement I have. Like you said, we were talking and you had mentioned Stranger Things, and I was just like, that just doesn't sound real.
It's a bogus rumor,
Yeah. Because we, just being more in the community, especially, kind of knowing people, you hear things sometimes, I've learned just to take everything with a grain of salt.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's a variation of that, and sometimes it's just completely off. So, you mentioned Stranger Things, and I was just like, well, Scott knows, but it does sound,
and I think
off.
that you bring up a good point that, like, taking stuff with a grain of salt, like, even for me, like, I like to think that I know stuff, like, know rumors and stuff like that, but also, like, stuff's always changing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, this is why I never talk about it publicly. Number one, because that's just wrong to do with the parks, and anyone who does that, they shouldn't be. Let's just say that, right? I feel like we've had that topic before, but
it's just bad practice. That's all. It's kind of bad practice.
And number two, it's like stuff is always changing in the haunt world, and when you hear something as crazy as that, you're just like, whatever. You pass it on, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. So off the bat, I just was like, obviously, The Conjuring, we've had it last year. Maybe they're gonna add, because it's the universe. So I was excited. I really enjoyed the Conjuring house that we got last year. I thought it was definitely an improvement as far as what kind of Six Flags has been known for. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I like what they did here. I would have done this or done this, but for overall, I thought it was a positive experience. With Saw obviously coming back, now we're getting like a franchise. I think Fright Fest last year, it was okay. It was okay. There was some things that were lacking, but I will say this: Six Flags comes Scream Break had addressed some of those issues, and had improved the house for Saw. So I can't complain about that because they made improvements. And just overall, Stranger Things I'm excited for. Army of the Dead, I feel like Army of the Dead fits already kind of perfect to the type of scary houses or haunted houses that Six Flags is kind of known for. Do you know where
I think that this is gonna go? And
I feel like
the perfect location.
Go ahead, because I feel like we're gonna say the same thing.
Apocalypse area, Aftermath.
Oh, we're Aftermath. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I was like, wait.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, sorry, I should have said Aftermath.
Perfect spot for Army of the Dead.
They really don't even have to change too much, to be honest.
I mean, some theming. Yeah. Maybe throw Vegas somewhere in there, and you should be okay. But perfect spot for that house to go. So, just looking at all these, Trick or Treat. Now that was I was kind of confused about. I don't know if it's going to be an actual house or like a scare zone area, just because the kind of way they phrased it about it being like a candy trail kind of a twisted candy trail kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
So I don't know if that is going to be like a scare zone or like a gauntlet almost, because in the release they put out, they did say there was going to be 20 houses and scare zones. So and just like
Oh, is that how
going
they
through all
phrased
the
it?
yeah,
Okay.
they said because it kind of confused me, because I was like, what, they're doing 20 houses, but it's 20 houses and scare zones, and I was kind of going over it in my head. I was like, okay, well, like I could think of 5 or 6 scare zones that they have already. Now that would mean 14 houses.
Right.
That's a
Now,
lot. That
I
is a
mean, if
lot.
they were to do, so let's say, hypothetically, of course, shout
Right.
out to Margot, if you guys get that reference. But hypothetically speaking, right, if you have 14 houses, let's just say, that means you keep some of the existing ones. So let's say for the popular
Okay.
ones that have been there for a short amount of time, we have Truth or Dare.
Okay.
Condemned will probably come back just because that one's popular.
Right.
Willoughby's probably. Sewer of Souls, not necessarily.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
just because Willoughby's is such a popular one, and like,
And it is a staple of the
yeah,
park. I feel like that's good real estate for
it is
a
very good real
IP.
estate. That's why I was saying Sewer of Souls should go, because I think that that's also good real estate there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
And I mean, as far as anything else, that's it. Like, I think that'll return. So that leaves a bunch of other locations open, like the vault area, like
Yeah.
Sewer of Souls. I mean, you already have the Conjuring area located. And if they're getting creative and stuff like that, and they're utilizing stuff like putting up a Saw tent, like they did for last year, then I think
Right.
that probably 10 mazes, somewhere around there. But I mean, good catch on the press release, because I was just trying to figure out exactly which ones are going to be coming to Magic Mountain. I really didn't look into whether or not they're going to be mazes or scare zones. So now that you say that, yeah, I do think that some of these IPs will be brought to life in scare zones rather than in
Yeah.
mazes. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out, and I'm sure we'll get more confirmation as far as like the Fright Fest panel at Midsummer Scream. I'm sure that's we'll really dive
Yeah.
in to the exact nitty gritty details that we're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. So it is. The they gave us information, kind of enough just to be like, okay, here are the days, here are the properties that are coming. So it gives us enough to speculate on what could go where, and what's kind of gonna leave. But I it looks like a solid lineup for Six Flags this year, and I'm excited. Like I said, I really liked the Conjuring House last year. Now, I don't know if they're gonna keep the same layout, or if it's gonna be like, hey, this is this is the Conjuring, this is Annabelle, this is the Nun kind of thing. So, or if they're just gonna like throw those characters, have a more prominent role in the houses. So I'm excited for that. I just think, and then as far as Stranger Things goes, like, are they going to do a specific season, or are they going to do a compilation of the seasons that we have? So that's also, I feel like, something that, come Midsummer Scream time, they're going to more, kind of dig deeper into more details as far as all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's looking like a good year. We're going to get a lot of houses. Hopefully, maybe they're going to add some new scare zones. So, because it looks good. I'm excited.
Yeah, and honestly, like, September 7th can't come soon enough. Fright Fest is so much fun, and while, yes, it may not be as
Yeah.
detailed as some of the haunts that you guys are used to, and they may not have the budget for it, but regardless, they're trying to bring these experiences to life. And we saw last year, no pun intended, with the Saw maze, it was just okay, and I feel like tons of fans said they need this, they need this, they need this. Comes to Spring Break, they literally did everything the fans asked, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And so if they're listening to that feedback and they're applying it to these new IPs that they're bringing in. I think we have the potential for one of the best haunts out there for sure this year. And I think that people shouldn't write off Fright Fest, especially since, like I said, keep in mind that merger is now activated with Cedar Fair. Last year it wasn't. They're officially merged into one company now. So just keep that in the back of your head as well. You know, there's a lot more budget that is involved as far as that sense goes. But
yeah, and that was another thing too I was kind of worried about. But you know, like you just mentioned the merger, so I feel like they have some more financial backing to put into, you know, the zones, the houses, the props and stuff like that. And that's gonna
leaving that
in. Bless you. So yeah, they have a more financial backing and for all the, you know, all the little things that make the event better, and making the event better is going to bring more, you know, people into the park.
And I think overall, like as a haunt community, we win. It causes the other events and other theme parks and stuff like that to want to do better because they challenge each other. I've seen a lot of debate already online between, you know, did Universal drop the ball because they're not able to get access to these IPs and stuff like that? I think people need to think realistically when talking about stuff like this. It's not as easy as just signing a contract for an IP for a set amount of time. There's a lot more that goes into rights and stuff like this. You know, there's a reason why different IPs have fallen out of Universal's hands and stuff like that. It's not that easy, you know. And keep in mind, Six Flags has had a very long relationship with Warner Brothers, a very long one and a very strong one. So obviously, that's going to weigh more for Six Flags than it would for Universal. It's not about dropping the ball. It's not about, you know, not being able to make stuff happen. It is what it is. You know, it comes down to relationships.
Right. No, 100%. And also you have to look at it this way too. Is you can't have everything. Like specifically for HHN. You can't have everything. Like I get like, oh, we all want to see a Conjuring house or this house or this property, like, okay, it's fine, but you can't like have everything. So I'm, you know, maybe you want HHN to get this or that. I'm glad Fright Fest is like, okay, well, you know, we're gonna, you know, like you said, because we have relationships. Hey, what can we work out? Who knows? Like this might be 1 year, and in next year, you know, we're not gonna get Stranger Things or you know,
like
whatever the case may be.
You know, it's an expansion.
Exactly. So I'm like, hey, you know what? If this part can't get it, and this part gets it, and they do it right, and it's good, and people go and they're talking about it, that's a positive all the way around. And I definitely
think that there's people out there who think that HHN is the only haunt. You know, we've had this debate for the longest time. And well, yes, it is one of the bigger ones. There's other haunts out there in Southern California in specific. There's tons of different haunts. I get in the East Coast. They're kind of
for sure,
like locked with HHN over there, which is fine. You know, you guys can like what you want to like, but keep in mind, like I said, it does encourage these different haunts and stuff to just do better and challenges them. You know, Universal can't have everything. You know, that's what makes the haunt world here so diverse. You know, not to mention, not everyone can afford to go to Horror Nights, and some people can afford to go to Fright Fest. So now the fact that they're able to see different IPs that they only would be able to see at Universal, now they can see at Fright Fest. I think that's a win-win regardless, I would say.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember, you know, kind of, I would say growing up, I'm in my 40s now, but, you know, like early, like 18, 19, 20, around that age, like being like, it is pricey to go to all these parks, and you know, at that point, you know, working a whatever job and, you know, only having so much money, it is like, you know, I think that they said the tickets were starting at like $75 for Fright Fest. And it was like, okay, like something like that. Obviously, when I was younger, the prices were different and it was a whole other thing. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, you know, this kind of is going to cater to this crowd. And because everyone's financial situation is different. And so, you know, maybe you and your friends are like, you know, you're all 20, 21, and you only have so much, you know, extra income. You're like, okay, well, you know what? We all can't go to Horror Nights, but we can all go to Fright Fest. So let's go to Fright Fest. Let's have a good time. And they got Stranger Things, and they got The Conjuring and Army of the Dead, and let's go and have a good time. So, you know, there's something for everyone and I wouldn't even call Fright Fest a smaller park, but there's something for everyone. throughout the haunt season, as far as the size of the park and the cost and your experience. So it's just it broaden your
Exactly.
mind, people.
But speaking of Universal, we did get a brand new announcement for Universal. I was at the park the other day checking out Persian Courtyard, wondering what it's going to be. Is it going to be some form of Latin American haunted house? Because that is exactly what Murdy's been teasing. They posted two different pieces of kind of an idea of what the characters are going to look like and everything. And I was at a loss for words. I had no idea what was going on. Obviously, it could have been another urban legend type of thing. Well, to my
Right.
surprise, Monstros #2, The Nightmares of Latin America. When was the last time that we had like a sequel haunted house? That's not like a movie sequel, but like an actual like #2.
Right.
It's been a long time.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the only one I could think of, and it wasn't like specifically a #2 in more recent years, was the like Pandora's Box, but that wasn't a #2. That was just like, hey, it's the same pretty
if
much.
that's the case, you can
kind
say
of-
Holidays in Hell too. You know?
That is true. That is true. But I mean I was looking for something a little different for the Murdy, these kind of like
Yeah.
lore houses. But I'm super excited. We're getting some good characters. I mean, not characters. We're getting some good like lore to go off of. We've seen some of these. Those I would call like characters, or these properties. We've seen some of them in scare zones or previous houses before.
Do you know what the three urban
and
legends, who are going to be featured?
I cannot
Okay,
pronounce
cool.
their name
I
because
was
I
going
know
to
one
ask
of them.
you if
I
you know
know
how to
one
pronounce
of
it,
them.
but I don't know how to pronounce
Okay,
it.
go ahead. I know it's one, obviously El Cucuy, and then El Chorro Negro. The other one I cannot say. It's like El
Yeah,
Cadejo.
that's exactly what I
could
said
be-
on my video.
I could be. Yeah, I could be pronouncing that completely horrible. I do not speak Espanol. Like I've said before, I could order like dos taquitos, and that's the extent of it. But yeah. So we like El Cucuy was a house in 2013. So we've seen them before, but not all together like this. So I'm excited to see what Murdy does, even just because based off of
Yeah.
what he did last year for Monstros. I'm excited to see what he does with these.
Yeah,
these
definitely one of my
properties.
favorite houses of all time was Monstros last year, and I've been going 11
Right.
years now, I think it is, and I've seen a lot of houses. I
Okay.
mean, my number 1 for the longest time is La Llorona, and then they brought it back, and I was like, yep, still number 1 for sure. But yeah, Monstros was up there, and the fact that we're getting a sequel to it, and not only that, well, yes, we don't have La Lechuza and El Sabon and La Pucci still there. We have Muerte. Muerte's coming back. He's going to be outside the facade,
Right.
which is, it's going to, same thing. It's going to be like the grave area, although it's a different part of the cemetery, I think is what John talked about it being. So Muerte's going to be
Okay.
back. So shout out to him. What a cool guy he is.
He's very he's very lively.
And he
Very
always has
lively.
his audio cues playing and everything. So there's one piece of the past house that we're going to be getting back. But not only that, Rob, I think that it goes without saying, Monstros last year was one of the most technologically advanced houses that Horror Nights has ever done.
For sure, especially with the puppets and the animatronics that they used to make these monsters come to life was just and Murdy had talked about it at Midsummer Scream last year, and just that's one of the big things I do like about as far as the H.H. James panel specifically is just how in depth he goes into the specific house that he's talking about, and we got to see the animatronics, we got to see what was I forgot the bird.
Lechuza?
Was it Lechuza?
It was
I
owl,
think it's
yeah.
Lechuza. You were right. There you go. Just kind of building it like from without any of the aesthetics and everything. Just the
They show the
inside and the
skeleton
bones
of
of it.
how
and-
exactly it's going to work.
Yes. Amazing. So stuff like that is just really cool, and it's just overall the what they did last year with it, and just everything with El Sabon and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure I said it was my favorite house from last year. So, it was. I have very high hopes for
Yeah,
this.
and now
one
we have
this
two
year.
announcements. We have Dead Exposure, Death Valley, and Monstros #2. I definitely think that there will be a scare zone
Right.
attached to it, as every Persian house has a scare zone attached to it. We
Yeah.
don't have confirmation on that yet. I thought Meridia for sure would have been like, oh, it's going to be this, but also typically they announce these originals at Midsummer Scream, and they don't announce the originals first. So, oh, and not to mention, we also have A Quiet Place. Why am I forgetting about that? We have A Quiet Place too. So 3 houses that have been announced for Halloween Horror Nights here
Yes.
in Hollywood in specific. I think that because El Chato rides on a horse, so I feel like they can definitely bring something to life similar to what they did with the giant owl with like a horse. You know what I mean? Or maybe even the dog.
Okay.
The I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that, but you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, the dog with red glowing eyes. He looks so cute. I just want to pet him.
You know what? I was thinking about the animatronics that they use for like American Werewolf in London. That I think was 2000.
Yeah, the
14 or
giant
13,
puppets,
I
and
could
I
be
think that they
mistaken.
utilize the same skeletons for Ghostbusters as well.
Yeah, those absolutely killed it. So if we get something along those lines for the dog, I think it's
Yeah,
gonna
and
be,
not
it's
to
gonna be
mention
awesome.
the kind of the piece of art that they put out as far as what the characters are going to look like. They look terrifying, like especially El Kukui. El Kukui,
Yes.
like that is the thing of nightmares right there. With all the teeth and the glowing
Yes,
red eyes
yes,
and
that's-
everything.
When my grandmother would try to scare me to go to sleep, that's what I imagine her talking
I mean,
about. He's
in my
gonna get
video,
you
I
if you
said
don't go
I'm
to
sure a
bed.
lot of you guys are familiar with El Kukui, and if a lot of you guys were familiar with El Kukui, then you're a bad child.
I was a bit. You
Yeah,
found me out. I
that's
was a
right.
bad
Well,
child.
because like
Scott.
that was the thing, that was El Kukui is coming after like bad kids who don't go to sleep, and that's like what
Yep.
the original Maze was based off of too in 2013, and it was narrated by Danny Trejo, I think. So that was pretty cool as well.
Yes, it
But
was.
yeah, Monstrose #2 coming. It's a sequel to Monstrose #1 coming to Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood. We want to know what you guys think down below as far as this announcement goes. But we do have one more small announcement from a big event, which is Queen Mary's Dark Harbor. Dark Harbor randomly decided to jump on the train of haunt announcements yesterday. They said, you know what, let's announce one of our other icons. As Graceful Gale returns. Do you remember Graceful Gale having her own, like, maze on the ship? I can't remember.
I don't remember her having. I feel like she did,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it was before I started going. But because I only went 1 year. But yeah, I remember Graceful Gale, but not her having her own house or anything like that, or maze.
Right. I think that she was featured in one of them. I don't think like it was her maze necessarily.
Right.
But I think that she was featured. And regardless, you saw her like all around the area. So
Yeah.
what they did for the Scary Mary announcement is they did the Scary Mary announcement for her being like returning. And then like a week later they announced her having the Lullaby maze.
Right.
So will we see the same kind of idea with Graceful Gale? It seems like they have a schedule going as far as exactly what they're announcing. Like 1 week we announce an icon, second week we announce the maze that the icon will reside in. I feel like
Right.
that's kind of what they're getting at right now.
So maybe next week sometime. I'm just going off of what they've done so far. Maybe next week we'll get some kind of maze announcement that maybe not a Graceful Gale maze, but she's going to be featured in this maze, or just another maze announcement. Because I feel like we're getting close to Midsummer, and I know they're gonna. I feel like they're not I know, but I feel my opinion is that they're going to save something big for Midsummer. So
Right.
Graceful Gale being kind of like a returning icon to the event. We know about her, so maybe we get something a maze having to do with her, or having maybe her featured in this maze, the next maze announcement. So I don't know, we'll see, but I'm excited. Just more announcements. Get kind of like Dark Harbor being like, hold on, guys. We have some stuff too. It's not about HHN. It's not about Fright Fest. It's our
watch
turn.
out, we're also
Yeah.
players too.
Yes, exactly.
It's awesome that Graceful Gale is coming back. Also, some great characters that we know who have brought Gale to life. And I'm
For sure.
assuming that we'll see like some. I'm sure we'll see them all roaming the show floor. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
they
yeah,
have to. It's Queen Mary's back, so I'm sure they will. I mean, 13th floor has a huge presence on the show floor, as we've seen in the past.
right.
And typically it's been the Hayride front and center. I feel like this year will probably be Dark Harbor front and center, to be honest.
Imagine, because they usually have that big display right when you
Hmm.
kind of go. Imagine if it's some kind of boat or like
I know,
a
yeah. That's
variation
what I'm
of the
saying. Like they
Queen.
would
Yeah,
they would be smart to do something like that, you know?
that would be really cool.
Right. And then have like all the icons there. Like I definitely think that they'll probably do that. Like 100%. I feel like that's what will happen.
Yeah,
But or I guess they should say 99% because we have no guarantee. But
yeah, yeah. We'll go with 99.
yeah. So that's a short little Dark Harbor news that we have. Obviously, once they announce the maze, we'll go more into depth about it. But Rob did mention, while we took a quick break, a discovery that he just found that we didn't talk about for Fright Fest in general. So I'll kind of let you take the floor for that.
Yeah, so what it looks like, I got the release right here. So what it looks like is that this year, for Fight Fest, they're doing something they've not done, at least in my memory, is they're doing a separate ticket event for Fright Fest. Now, normally, you were able to, whether you had a pass or buy a general admission ticket and stay the whole time, even when Fright Fest started, which usually starts around like 7 o'clock. But you could stay with a 1 day ticket, and then you would just have to buy the wristband to go into the houses. Based off what I'm reading here, it sounds like it's a separate ticketed event. I'll just read the single day admission. A separate admission event ticket will be required for Fright Fest Extreme. Admission with access to all haunted attractions, rides, and entertainment. Guests can purchase an express upgrade for priority entry to all the haunted houses, but also it does say pass holder admission. Fright Fest Extreme Parks admission will be included for all 2024 gold, platinum, and diamond season pass holders. So
Okay.
so it sounds like if you have a pass, I'm sure they'll do like the same thing what they did with Screen Breakers. They
Right.
they
Right.
they gave you a ticket, you just had to kind of like sign up for it and
Yeah.
get it. But yeah, so something new, something different that Fright Fest, at least for me, has never done that I've been going, a separate ticketed event.
I mean, is it good in the sense of like people? Not necessarily, because people are used to getting it included in the
Right,
general admission ticket. However, is
right.
it good in the sense of the future for Six Flags? For sure. The reason being is because
100.
it adds more money to their budget. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if you have
I
a pass, then you still get in.
yes, for sure. So, and I think this has to do with Screen Break as well, because Screen Break was a separate ticket thing where you had to pay, and so that for me, I was like, that had to be a success for them to do something like this,
Right.
because they have to just base it off of like something like, okay, well, Screen Break, people paid to come in and it was a success, so let's see what we can do with Fright Fest. And I think, again, going back to the merger and just kind of like, I feel like new beginnings for Six Flags and Fright Fest, I feel like this is something to step in the right direction to show that they're a premier haunt event.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I 100% understand there might be people who don't like this because again, for years, one ticket and you got to stay all day, just get you a wristband and you're good to go. But I think for, like you mentioned, Scott, I think for the park and the success of the park and the ability to put on a better event, this is a separate ticketed event is really, really good for Six Flags, for Fright Fest. So I understand people might be standoffish about it at first because we've been going for so long just with one ticket. But you know what?
Yeah.
I'll say this again. I've said it before. We gotta support the haunts that we really like. So if you've enjoyed Fright Fest for years like me, you gotta support it. And
Absolutely.
this is they're just trying to make a better event. They're trying to show that, hey, it's not just these two haunts or these three haunts. We're up here too, and this is just going right into showing that Fright Fest is a top tier haunt come haunt time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you kind of wrapped it up perfectly there. But I think as far as the rest of the haunt news goes, I think that more will come next week probably,
For sure.
And if you are new here, please subscribe. And if you want to be the first to know about this haunt news, then make sure you're following all of our social medias and our Haunt Talk social media down below as well. Rob's been having some great success with subscribers, so continue to subscribe to him and get him to 1,000 subscribers.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
But anyways, everybody, my name is Scott.
And I'm Rob.
And we have been the Haunt Talk podcast, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.